Kia ora Year 12. Here are the first three parts of question 2 of the 2013 Algebra paper. So these are all achieved questions except for the last one, which is a merit question. If you keep watching, there will be a mystery song somewhere in here. First person to email me with the right answer gets the chocolate fish. Okay, so the first question is an exponents question. I'm just going to write it out again to make sure you can all see it. So there's 4a squared cubed over 8a to the power of 5 squared. Right, so we'll work with the numerator and denominator separately. If I look at this 8, I need to square it, so that gives me 64. A to the power of 5 is squared, so I multiply the powers together and I get a to the power of 10. In the numerator, I take my 4 and I cube it. So 4 cubed, 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Hopefully you knew that. And here I take my a squared and I cube it, so that's going to be a to the power of 6. Right, so what am I left with? Well, I've got 64 over 64, simplifies to give me 1, so I've got a to the power of negative 4, which I'm going to write as 1 over a to the power of 4. Right, so that's a U code for that one, not surprisingly. Right, next one, a little bit the same. It's 16x squared to the power of 1/4. The rules work the same way for fractional powers as they do for all the other powers. So I take this in 2 bits. Now, I'll write this out step by step. So it's going to be 16 to the power of 1/4. Right, so we take our number and we do the power operation on it. With the x, it's x squared to the power of 1/4, so I multiply the powers together and I get x to the power of 2 over 4. Right, many of you will have gone straight to this step. What's the fourth root of 16? Well, it's going to be 2. And this is just x to the power of 1/2. I could also write that as 2 root x, but I don't need to, because it started out with exponents, not surds. So that also is a U code. Part 2 of that question uses what we did in part 1. So just writing it out again, I've got 16x squared to the power of 1/4 times 9x cubed to the power of 1/2. And we know from our first bit of working that this bit is 2x to the 1/2 times, right, let's look at this, 9 to the power of 1/2 means the square root of 9, so that will be 3, and x cubed to the power of 1/2 is going to give me x to the power of 3 over 2. Right, now we use our rules that tell us in here we multiply the 2 and the 3 together and we get 6. Here I've got an x to the power of something, and here I've got an x to the power of something. So we take the exponents and we add them together and we get x to the power of 2. 1/2 plus 3/2 is just 2. So that's 6x squared. Alright, so that's another achieved code. Right, so the last question here is one where you've got to write an equation from some words. So Lara says that she's thinking of a number, and then she does these things to the number, and she ends up with 0. What numbers could she be thinking of? So we'll let her number be x. Okay, that was the mystery song. Now we'll go on with the question. Right, what does she do to the number? Let's just do this line by line. First, she takes her number and she squares it. She must be having a very boring day. She squares her number and then she multiplies the answer by 6. So we get to 6 times x squared, 6x squared. Now she adds 12 times the number she was first thinking of. So we're up to 6x squared plus 12x. Lastly, she subtracts 48, and I'm going to run out of space. There we go, and that equals 0. Right, what numbers could she be thinking of? Not surprisingly, because we're in level 2 algebra, it's a quadratic. So I'm going to divide both sides through by 6, and that's going to give me x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. That one we can factorise super easily, so I'm going to squeeze that in on here. I know you won't write your working in the exam like this. It'll be all beautifully laid out. Here we go. We've got x plus 4 times x minus 2 equals 0. Right, I need two numbers that multiply to give me -8 and have a difference of 2. So my numbers are -4 or 2. So her numbers could be -4 or 2. Alright, that's all for this video. I'll be back later on with some of the harder questions from this exam paper.